I could demonstrate more and more that they knew exactly what they were doing. This was true also for the 1990s when they prolonged the recession. I had many meetings with central bankers and I kept asking them, um, why don't you reflate the economy? It's not very difficult. It's a post-asset bubble banking crisis. It's very easy to get out. I had already published my proposal on how to get out. All you need is for the central bank to purchase the non-performing assets from the banks at face value. It's an accounting operation inside the banking system. Central bank and the banking system together. I mean, the banks and the central bank are the banking system, and the central bank can just purchase these non-performing assets. You shift them from the banks to the central bank. That doesn't lead to inflation because there's no money injection into the non-bank economy. You're just cleaning up the bank balance sheets. Problem solved. No taxpayer money used. Can be done, has been done in history, like in Japan in 1945 after the war, or when the First World War broke out in Europe. The Bank of England did this because the British banks were bust. And they thought, oh, we've just declared war on Germany and her allies. Not a good time to have a banking crisis. Let's not have one. We're buying those non-performing assets. End of story, no cost, because it's just an accounting transaction. So it could have been done. And I explained this, and also other policies I suggested. You can push money into the economy by purchasing performing assets from the non-bank sector. I even wrote about how, because Tokyo doesn't have many parks, it's not a very green city. Well, and if you've got a real estate crisis coming and a recession happening and the banks are bust, well, why doesn't the Bank of Japan purchase the land in central Tokyo when there's, some company going bankrupt and turns it into parks, Bank of Japan parks? It would inject new money into the economy, and the central bank, there's basically no limit. Of course, they can quickly end the deflation. They can quickly create demand and have a recovery, but they didn't do it. So on all these proposals, they kept saying, making excuses, for these and these reasons, we're not doing it. But then some central bankers took me aside and said, look, particularly, over dinner, it's all off the record. And they told me, look, of course we know we could do this. Of course, any central bank can quickly create a recovery. We know that. I mean, you can even create inflation if you want to. That's coming back to 2020 in a moment. But we don't want to. What do you mean you don't want to? Well, this recession is really what Japan needs. What do you mean the recession is what Japan needs? Well, they were saying that Japan needed structural reforms, deregulation, liberalization, privatization. The economy was too successful. America was complaining. There was huge trade surpluses. How can we reduce the trade surplus, make Japan less successful? Adopt this economist's advice of deregulation, liberalization, privatization, and the trade surplus will disappear. Domestic demand will grow. There will be more consumption, and that's much better. We need to do that to help the international community. Japan needs to fit in. Just can't be this successful, exporter and focusing only on exports.